What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden J here. What's going on, everyone? I hope we are all doing extremely well. I am most certainly doing well myself. But what's going on, everyone? We got a ton of, well, not so much a ton, but we do have some good topics to go over in today's stream. But before we get into all of those topics, everyone, if you are not subscribed already, please feel free to smash that like button. Please turn on those post notifications. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please turn on those post notifications. I know the post notifications thing has kind of not really been working with some people lately. So please definitely make sure you do that. In today's stream, we are going to be going over the press conference that just recently took place with new New York Mets manager Buck Showalter. He had his introduction press conference via Zoom 3 days ago. So in today's stream, we are going to be going over that. It was definitely a good press conference. I felt very comfortable at the end of it, which is something that a lot of people may or may not have. So definitely good to have that feeling. We are going to be going over that in today's stream. And of course, after that, we are going to be going over your guys' comments. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, as always, we are definitely going to be going over them. So yeah, otherwise, we do know it is day something of the lockout. Lockout has been going on for quite a while now. It's pretty exasperating. Don't get me wrong. I'm really getting sick of this lockout. It is definitely not fun. We know kind of during the Zoom meeting at the press conference, it showed the lockout was in effect. Really was not very exciting. But otherwise, that's that with the lockout. Let's get into what went on with Buck Showalter. As I stated, Buck Showalter had a press conference via Zoom just 3 days ago with the New York Mets. He had his introduction. Everyone was in attendance. He had over 93 reporters on the other line with him. So this is definitely very good. It shows that there was a large audience. A lot of people had questions to ask to him, and I think that really brings up a lot. And I guess Showalter, he brought on some good stuff. Buck Showalter, he seemed to have a big sense of urgency. As we know, the New York Mets have some players that are getting up there in age. Whether that's Jacob deGrom, whether that's Max Scherzer. I know deGrom's young, but the point is he had a sense of urgency, something that the last two Mets managers did not have. Times were going down. Scherzer, he's 37 years old. How many, are you going to get 3 years out of Scherzer? That's solid. For deGrom, how many more years are you going to get out of deGrom? So Showalter had the sense of urgency saying, okay, we need to try to regroup ASAP and not, in 10 years from now. Okay, yeah, we could think about it in 10 years, but some of the guys that we have on the Mets may not be in full form or even playing baseball then. So he really had a sense of urgency. I liked that. It was very charmful. He threw in some jokes, very, very charismatic, I guess you could say. What I kind of did like, and this was Billy Epler also, they were asking, him, questions, and, he was giving off funny responses. There was one where I think Billy Epler asked him, where a reporter asked Billy Epler, it was something around the lines of on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like this move? And then Epler was like, well, I would say 10, but my wife's sitting next to me or something like that. So I don't know. I kind of found that pretty funny. Good that there was some satire mixed in it because, with the Mets, it's been very stressful this year. So it's good to see that there were some levels of satire being thrown in it. I really liked that. That was really good to see. In terms of that, he has experience. We know that he talked about his experience. He did briefly bring up the Zach Britton issue, which was pretty funny. He brought up what happened with Zach Britton. So that's been established. But that's the past. We'll focus on the future. He brought up how he has accountability. We know that he has accountability. He can definitely clean up this clubhouse. He can go in there and just be a leader. We know that the Mets last season did not have any established leader in the dugout for the most part last season. Luis Rojas, not trying to come on these streams and bash him every 10 seconds, but he wasn't really a leader. The players didn't really feel like they could go to him and talk to him. They felt that if there was an issue going on, he was not cognizant of that. He was not controlling the dugout. If there was some animosity, if there was a fight, if there was some tensions, just like with Lindor McNeil, Rojas didn't know a thing about that. I guarantee you, Buck Showalter, if he was manager, that never would have happened, that physical altercation. Because Buck is a leader. He knows what to go on. He knows how to manage a dugout. And it seems rookie managers, they're on the sake of thinking to themselves, okay, am I focusing on the game? Do I focus on the social aspect of the clubhouse? It's a lot for these guys. So I definitely see where these guys are coming from, no doubt about it. But I just think when you get a more experienced manager, a guy who knows what he's doing, he doesn't need to take as much time to focus on the clubhouse because he knows the social aspect of the game. So that's really that with Buck. In terms of some of the important stuff, I guess what people were more so worried about is the analytical part of Buck Showalter. Buck Showalter, he's, I want to say 65, 66, 67. He's in his late 60s. So a lot of people were a little worried that Showalter was going to neglect analytics. And that was asked about a couple times during the press conference. He's been out of baseball since 2018, and you say, okay, 2018, not really that long of a time. I really doubt much changed since 2018. Red Sox won the World Series in 2018. It may seem like a long time, but in terms of baseball, it was a long time. The game has evolved so much then. I mean, it's really crazy how much the game has changed a lot since 2018, whether it's the standpoint of it, the analytical part, the executive part, how the baseballs are made. Everything has changed inside of baseball tremendously since that time. So, when you look at some guys like Bruce Bochy or Buck Showalter who have been out of the league for 4 years, it may not seem a lot, calendar-wise, but in terms of baseball and the mindset, it's definitely been a while. So yeah, definitely have been a little bit of time since he's been out of baseball. He did say that he has had some conversations with some guy like Tony La Russa, Joe Maddon, David Ross, current managers right now. David Ross is the manager of the Cubs. Joe Maddon's the manager of the Angels. And Tony La Russa just came out of retirement from like the last decade and managed the White Sox and got them to 92 wins. So, he said he had a conversation with them, and I think the four of them got together and really spoke about how baseball has evolved so much since then. There was also a tweet put out stating how he's more interested in using analytics right now. We know that analytics have been kind of worrisome. Yes, I understand he was using analytics before even analytics were a thing. He talked about how when he was in A-ball in the 1980s, in the mid-80s in Florida, him and his wife, they would pretty much get together and they would get like a little notebook and they would color code it, write stats and, record stuff about pitches and offensive production. So really interesting stuff like that. But what I find more interesting is that, the stats they were using then wasn't, FIP and XWOBA. It was, basic, velocity or average and that type of stuff. So Buck Showalter, he doesn't really have the experience with using stats like, fielding independent pitching or XWOBA or, weighted runs created or any of those stats. So that's going to be interesting. But Buck Showalter pretty much said, to quote him exactly, we are going to quote him, he pretty much just said some of the newer, more advanced stats like weighted runs creating and fielding independent pitching were not in my last job. I am really looking forward to implementing the probabilities and newer analytics into my game. So I find that extremely fascinating. I think it really goes to show you how much of a big mindset he has. He really has a big mindset. Showalter is the guy who is willing to go out there and learn. He is willing to go out there and see what he has in store. He's willing to speak with all the other executives, with all the other coaches inside of the Mets staff. And I think that's really important. I understand the Mets, the last two managers that the New York Mets had were rookie managers. Mickey Callaway, a rookie manager, limited MLB experience. And same thing with Luis Rojas, pretty much no MLB experience besides the minor league. And I think he had like 2 years as a bench coach. We saw him in the dugout. When those two guys were managers, they really weren't making a whole lot of moves. A lot of the moves being made was done by the analytical crew. It was done by assistant manager Dave Joust, whether that's Gary DiSarcina, Tim Tuffle, anyone really that would have been considered the Mets bench coach or any coach since, I guess, 2018 when Callaway came in. Or 17, my apologies. So I really think it goes to show you how much the game has really evolved since. But that's besides the point. The point is, I think it's going to be interesting to see how much power is Buck Showalter going to have. And I think now, when you have a young rookie manager, they're not really going to be as annoyed as having power. They're just going to be in that role. Manager was kind of a figure role back then. Now, Buck Showalter's a veteran. He has over 21 years of MLB experience. I think he's going to want to make the moves. And I think it's going to come down to, with analytics, it's going to come down to when there's a situation and analytics come up, whether that's involving a move in the bullpen, a move in the lineup, anything. It's going to come down to, is Showalter going to be willing to accept that, or is he going to say, no, I want to do what I want to do? Could his opinion be based off of analytics? I don't know. But I think it's going to come to the point is that Showalter, he has major league experience. He is going to want to pretty much kind of go off of what he wants. And I really question, yes, he said he definitely wants to have a team effort. He wants everyone to be involved. He wants, Epler, Cohen, the executives to be involved, and then more of the day-to-day operation guys, including Epler, including the bench coaches, whoever he hires, including all the pitching coaches, Jeremy Hefner, whoever the new hitting coach is. He wants his guys to be involved. So I think it's going to be really, really, really interesting to see how that turns out. And I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Showalter is willing to work with the coaching staff. He's going to have more power most likely than the last managers have, because like I said, they were rookie managers. Necessarily they're rookie managers. They kind of go with the flow to the extent they don't really care as much if other people are being involved. I guess if you're more so a veteran, I guess you kind of take it to offense a little bit. I guess just because you just don't, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just because you've been around it. So I guess that's kind of insulting to an extent. Honestly, I don't know. I could really care less. But, as long as it doesn't create some issues in the dugout, that is really all I'm going to ask for. And yeah, I mean, that was really it with Buck Showalter in the press conference. It went pretty well. Like I said, there was some charm in it. Everyone seemed to really, have a good feeling about it. All the MLB Network and SNY and, baseball reporters, they all pretty much came together and said, oh, he pretty much, it sounded pretty great. It sounded appetizing. They liked it. I'll tell you, I felt pretty comfortable at the end. I didn't watch the full thing, but I at least watched 50 to 75% of it. And I really felt like Showalter, he wasn't BSing. I really feel he was laying out the truth. He was laying out what he wants to do with this team. And I feel Showalter, he wants to help everyone on this team. In the past, you see managers, they want to help out the team itself. Showalter wants to work with every single guy particularly and help them out. And I think that really, really goes to show you a lot. So, that it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Otherwise, that's really it with the Showalter news. I do want to go into your guys' comments because I see we got a couple of good comments in the chat and questions. So, so we definitely are going to get into that. But before everyone, please, if you guys do have any comments, any questions, any concerns, anything, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I'd be very, very interested to hear what you guys have to say. It could be Mets related. It could be Phillies related. It could be Dodgers related. It could be Tigers related. Anything revolving Major League Baseball, Minor League Baseball. If you guys have any questions, do not hesitate. Please feel free to drop them below. And I would be very, very, very interested to hear what you guys have to say. So, yeah, let's get into that. So, what's going on, everyone? What's going on, Trey? What's going on, Jed? What's going on? Logan, YouTube Productions, Jack, John, Ibindos, Teddy, what's going on, brother? Kobe, what's going on, brother? Daniel, what's going on? He says, hey, Hayden, when will this lockout end? I'm so excited to get the season started, and also what other players the Mets will add. Mary Buckness. Yeah, you too, man. Definitely, this lockout has not been really interesting at all. It's definitely unfortunate. Really don't like to see it. In terms of right now, when I think it's going to end, it seems, only a couple more days till the new year. So pretty much it seems that moves are pretty much done in terms of the CBA. They're not going to be having any other meetings for the rest of this year. Everything has pretty mumuch been halted, and really no progress has been made per Jeff Passan. No progress has been made at all whatsoever. Pretty much since everything was shut down. A couple signings were approved, whether that was the Justin Verlander signing. The arbitration was accepted for the Los Angeles Dodgers. So look at Cody Bellinger back on a 1-year, $17 million deal. So good for him, I guess. Really, no complaints there. Yeah, it's a pretty solid signing, I guess, in my opinion. But in terms of when it's going to end, I mean, I'm really hoping they can come back January. These guys will have the ambition to get it done. They don't want to lose money. I'm hoping they can get it done soon, man. I really do. Cal, what's going on? Cal says Buck Showalter is an outstanding guy. He's a leader who will bring accountability to the Mets. Spot on move. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think accountability has been one word that I've heard connected with Buck Showalter for. I mean, I've been hearing that word and Showalter combined together so much lately, and it's really good. I really think it's good. Accountability is important. Haven't had it in the last two managerial positions, so it's good to have it now. Trey, what's going on? Trey says, absolutely loving Cohen as an owner. Spend whatever it takes, a Mets version of the Steinbrenners. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really good the Mets are willing to spend money as long as they spend it responsibly. Obviously, I don't want the Mets to go around overpaying guys. That would not be good. Arguably, we've seen that already. But listen, we'll see how that pans out. We got some good signings so far this offseason. The Mets have really done more this offseason than the last 10 combined. So yeah, really, really, really big stuff there. Kobe, what's going on? Kobe says, I'm comfortable with him as our skipper. He seemed to have good answers to all questions. He sounds more poised than the last two. Absolutely. I will say he really did answer the questions well. He never hesitated. He always seemed to have a response. It was on Zoom, which I don't like, but what are you going to do? I can't control that. Like the connection was going out in and out a little bit. But for the most part, it seemed, Showalter had great responses. Like I said, there was some charismatic charm, slithered in it. He had great responses. No complaints with it, honestly. Showalter, he honestly made me have a good feeling at the end, knowing I have some confidence in this team. I was a little worried that it wouldn't go well, and it went well. Ibindos, what's going on? He says, Showalter is great. He has a baseball mind. Absolutely. I mean, for a dude who's been around Major League Baseball for more than 2 decades, you would certainly hope he has a Major League Baseball mind. And he definitely does. He really does. Sports fan, what's going on? Sports fan says, I feel Bellatron needs to coach before given a shot to manage a team. No one should hire him as a third base coach or first base coach. Manager is more important, but they should get coaching staff that the players, I'm guessing you were going to say like or want. I agree with the sports fan. I mean, listen, I obviously think Bellatron was one guy that a lot of people wanted. I kind of represented some interest in him at first, but then I kind of questioned. The Mets had the Mets' last 2 managers that actually managed a game with rookie managers, and it didn't work out well. Maybe in terms of fixing the clubhouse, I feel Bellatron could work because he has that, social connection to some guys like Lindor. So I think that could probably work. He's a player, so I feel, definitely had a great career. So I really feel players could look up to him, but the experience isn't there. And that's what I got a little worried about. The Mets, they want experience. And Bellatron, he doesn't have it, sadly. I'd have honestly no problem, like you said, bringing him in as a third base coach or a bench coach or even, a hitting instructor, anything on the Mets coaching staff. I have no issue with that, most likely for the offensive approach for the most part. I have no problem with that, letting him settle down. Showalter has a 3-year contract, 3 years, so 2022, 2023, 2024. I have no problem with bringing in Showalter, obviously, as he is, bringing in Bellatron as a bench coach. When those 3 years are up, he could be the manager possibly because he'll have at least 3, maybe even arguably 4, depending on how things go, years of experience under his belt. I think that's very important. Pretty much like I stated, I think that's really how it most likely could go. Just because, if you get a guy like Showalter, a guy with so much experience and so much to offer, Showalter, he gives you a mix. He gives you the old baseball terminology and the new baseball terminology. He'll give you some analytics and he'll give you some eye test, a mixture of both. That's what I want and that's what I adore. He could pass that on to Bellatron, have him as, a side-by-side mentor for 3 years. That could easily work out well for Bellatron and the Mets ahead. So I think that's really interesting. And, I'm always coming on these streams saying, listen, I'm always coming on these streams pretty much saying that I would be fond of having any team, regardless if it's the Mets, the Pirates, the Yankees, the Dodgers. I think it's great in Major League Baseball if there is a guy who used to play. Let's say you're talking Mike Piazza and he wants to, just have him show up to Citi Field one day and just have him take some BP, with, James McCann or, work on framing, even though Piazza wasn't the best framer, but it didn't matter back then. I'm always down to that. Have David Wright come. Have him take some ground balls with J.D. Davis. I'm not saying he has to be the next manager, the next coach. Just have him, talk, socialize. I really think that's important. Have just David Wright go out there, take some ground balls, take some dribblers, practice on throwing to first base, practice turning double plays. it could really, really go a long way with these guys. And I hope they could do that. Daniel, what's going on? He says, all Buck is missing is a World Series. Yeah, absolutely. He has 3 Manager of the Year awards. So, yeah, definitely a World Series would definitely be needed. You hope he can get a World Series title. Hopefully it could be with the Mets. Arguably, it most likely would be if he's getting up there in age. I'm not sure. Obviously, the Mets just got him, so I don't know if they're going to, extend his contract. But he has 3 years. That's an adequate enough time to really get something going. Even if they just use him. I know Showalter has a track record of getting to the playoffs and then kind of just losing in the playoffs. And listen, that's fine. The Mets, they have a different mentality than most other teams. Get to the playoffs. Get to the wild card. If they lose in the wild card, I'll consider that successful because they were one of the 5 teams that was able to advance. So that's why I'm fine to that. Kobe, what's going on? Kobe says, do you think the Mets should get Bellatron as a coach? Well, yeah, hopefully you did hear my little rant about that. If you missed it, overall, yes, I think they definitely could get something good out of him. And I would honestly have no issue with that. What's going on, Marco? Marco says, Showalter wasn't my favorite pick, but he'll be better than the last 2 guys. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at first, I don't know if you guys remember at first when I was coming on these streams, I was like, yeah, Showalter's not my number 1 pick. I was a little worried with the analytical aspect of it. I was a little worried about him being out of baseball for so long. And I don't know. I just feel they wouldn't really mix together, him and the Mets. And I don't know. At first, I wasn't super keen on Showalter. Then I kind of did some digging on him. I kind of, researched some of his, history, what he's like, what he's accomplished. And it's kind of changed. Obviously, I listened to a lot of his press conferences, and honestly, I'm on the Showalter board right now, and I'm fine with it. I really am. So yeah, I think we're gonna have to see how that goes. Very interesting to see. Like we said, last 2 managers did not turn out so well. So fingers crossed that Buck Showalter can try and break that because you don't want to get a streak starting. Obviously, Bellatron is a different story. He never managed any games, and it wasn't necessarily his fault that he had to leave. But fingers crossed, the Mets can arguably hope to get something accomplished with Buck Showalter. Cal, what's going on, bud? He says, think the Mets will make any more big moves once the lockout is finished? Well, yeah, I think they'll definitely have some moves under their belt. I question if it's going to – I don't know that everyone's definition of big. Is it going to be a Chris Bryant, or is it going to be a Carlos Rodon, or will it be more of some, bench peaches, some minor league pieces? And arguably, I think if the Mets offseason started right now, I think it would arguably be one of the best. I think they would easily get a B or an A because you brought in, outfield depth, infield depth, great pitching, a great manager. So arguably, I think the Mets would easily have an A or an A minus or a B plus, in my opinion. It's just 1 or 2 things. Third base, I would like to be addressed. Third base, I think, is going to be the big thing. But absolutely, I think the Mets will have some moves. Like we said, they were involved in Chris Bryant before the lockout, and kind of was quiet for the most part. But yeah, the Mets are, in my opinion, are going to be very involved, I think. Metal the Mule, what's going on? He says, what would it take to get Brandon Lau for second base? Yeah, Brandon Lau, honestly, is not the worst second baseman. To be completely honest with you, I wouldn't be super crazy with him on the Mets. I definitely like him. I had him in my fantasy league last year for a bit. He definitely helped me out. He hits for some power. His RBIs, his home runs will be pretty high up. He'll definitely have a lot of those. But, when it comes to the batting average, if you want to get basic, his batting average isn't that great. I know, whatever. He strikes out a lot, so that's my little bit of my concern. Listen, I get it. The Mets don't have many power hitters on this team as it is. Besides Alonso, you lost Baez. So really, besides Alonso, who else is really going to hit you more than 30 home runs? Trying to think what you have on the. Escobar arguably probably can give you 30, maybe 25. But you would like that. So I think Lau could definitely give you some stuff. Rays, they're a very sneaky team. So their front office is definitely gonna not budge too easily with Lau. It's going to involve us giving up some prospects. In terms of who exactly, I really couldn't tell you. It depends what they're going to want. I think obviously it would probably be a bundle. I know the Rays are willing to possibly send away Tyler Glasnow. So, I mean, is that something the Mets are going to want to take on? Do you want to pick up another guy with Tommy John? You lost a guy with Tommy John and Noah Syndergaard. So, do you want to pick up another guy like that? I would rather not. But what would it take? I mean, we're talking at least 2 to 3 of your Jalen Palmers, and at least a pitching prospect or so. You're going to have to give up at least 4 or so prospects for him, depending what else the Rays are going to give up. So, yeah, I think that's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. Personally, I wouldn't take Lau, however you pronounce his last name. I wouldn't take him. The Mets have enough infielders anyway, as it is. Trey, what's going on? Trey says, it's great to feel excited during the offseason / lockout about the Mets. This is what happens when a true fan of a team now owns the same team does to make them a winner. Absolutely, yeah. I agree with you 100%, man. Nate Talk Sports, what's going on, buddy? Appreciate you tuning in, man. Kobe, what's going on? Kobe says, think the Mets will... I think you asked that already. Yeah, I think you did. Or someone else did. When do you think the lockout will be finished as Cal? Cal, I'm hoping the lockout could be resolved, and hopefully by January is what I'm hoping for. I think it's going to come to question is how willing are the owners? How willing are the CBA? Are they going to bust easily? I don't know. I really don't think Major League Baseball wants to have to go through a whole other, lockout and lose so much money. They had it in 2020, and it would really just be really unfortunate if baseball got delayed, even for a week, just because, it's super sad what happened in 2020 with Major League Baseball, and, how the season, really did not really get into play for most of you. It's 60 games. It's not really a season, in my opinion. If it was 80 or 90, maybe. You really don't want that again. It would just look so bad on Major League Baseball. It would make, everyone thought Bud Selig was bad. Regardless of who the owner is or the commissioner, John Smith could be the commissioner. Everyone would hate the commissioner. I just think the commissioner is kind of the guy that people always punch at. But don't get me wrong. Yeah, Manfred is not the ideal commissioner, but things have been getting to an extent a little bit better before. We know that the baseball news kind of came out with the juice balls and the dented balls, and that was kind of tough on Major League Baseball. I don't really think that looked good on Major League Baseball. So, yeah, I didn't like that. Trey says Steven Matz, he left the Jays to join the Cardinals instead of the Mets. Then he pissed off Cohen by doing that. Then they got Escobar, Canna, Marte, Scherzer, and now Showalter are members of the Mets. Absolutely, man. I agree with you 100%. I think it really is interesting to see how things transpired. I remember that Cohen tweet. What was it? It was something around the lines of I've never seen such unprofessionality or something like this. I am very upset. I hope to never see this again. And look what happened. Things were really able to change. So I think it's really, really good to see that. Hold on, guys. Stand by for 1 second, please. Sorry about that. Marco, what's going on? Marco says, think the Mets are going to extend Nimmo. Yeah, our boy Nimmo. We love Brandon Nimmo. Personally, yeah, I'd be down to it. How old is Nimmo right now? Brandon Nimmo is, I want to say he's 25, 26, 27. He's 28, so he'll be 29 when the season starts. Yeah, that's prime age. You'd honestly like to get an extension out of him. I know he's arbitration, I want to say 2022 or 2023 after the season. Only worry is the health. He's never really played a full season. He's had the neck issue, a calf issue, hamstring. He's had his fair share of issues in the past with injuries. So I just be a little worried giving him a long-term thing. And then, obviously you would like to extend Nimmo. I'd have no problem with it. He's elite, completely underrated, one of the most underrated players in Major League Baseball. No doubt about that. I'd be down to a Nimmo extension. I think Nimmo would be first just because the arbitration year it's closer. I want to say it's after 2022. So I would say Nimmo would be first just in terms of the calendar. Alonso would definitely like an extension, and of course DeGrom. Alonso and Nimmo, I'd have no problem giving them both of them 7-8 years, 100%. And I think Nimmo's obviously willing to stay. I think he likes it here. Daniel says, what other pieces would you like the Mets to complete this World Series roster? What other pieces would you like on the Mets to complete this World Series? Well, I would like an actual third baseman for the most part. I think that's going to be a big thing. Hold on, guys. Hold on for 2 minutes. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about this, guys. Sorry about that. All right. Yeah. So as of right now, I think in terms of solidifying a postseason roster, I mean, right now it's looking pretty solid. I would like another pitcher in there, whether that could be a Carlos Rodon, whether that could be someone that could be a possible, number 2, number 3, our starter in the rotation. I mean, right now you have DeGrom, you have Scherzer. That's a great back-to-back. It going into an NLDS 100%. I think that definitely is a very lethal back-to-back. But, once you get down the line, I mean, you have Carrasco, you have Walker, you have a little bit of worried, little worrisome there. So, questionable if they'll get fatigued with the barrels, that, all that type of stuff. So hopefully that can get handled. So I would like at least one more pitcher on this team to solidify that rotation completely. That would be pretty good in my opinion. I mean, an experienced natural third baseman would be great. How the Mets have so many players out of position. It's just crazy. So yeah, I think you're going to need a natural third baseman. You're going to need 1 or 2 more starting pitchers and some bullpen arms. Sports Fan says, what I like about Buck is that there is no mystery. He has experience and knows how to put a team together. I think he would have some input on another starter, a bullpen, and a batter too. Yeah, 100%. I think Buck Showalter is willing to make, he's not the guy making moves, but I definitely think he would be willing to go out there and I guess make some and assist in some moves 100%. Obviously, it's up to Billy Epler and those guys. But I think he would be open to the Mets signing guys 100%. But yeah, as of right now, yeah, I agree with you. Showalter, he is a very open mind. He is a very open mindset, like we saw. He's willing to work with the analytical crew. He's willing to open his mindset to the modernization of 2022 baseball, or 2021, I guess now, if you want to say that. So he's willing to work with it, and I think that is very important. Stoney, what's going on? He says, hello, little brother. What do you think of us getting Nelson Cruz? Yeah, I mean, unless there's a concrete DH, defensively, you have nowhere to throw him. He's terrible defensively. He's like 43 years old. In terms of him as a DH, maybe he could hit for some pop. I don't know. Personally, I'm not super big on him. And even if there is a DH, they have so many candidates. I mean, you have Dominic Smith, you have JD Davis. You got a lot of guys. Probably Canna could even make a case for the DH role. You really do have a lot of guys out there. So I'd probably pass on Nelson Cruz. Maybe get him for a 1-year deal as a DH, but there's no 100% confirmation the DH is coming, but it probably is. But I don't know. I'm a little iffy on Cruz with the age. He still has some pop. He still has some, power in that bat. But I would like this team to get young and prime rather than old and veteran like it used to be. Stoney says, when is the 5-rule draft or whatever it is? Yeah, so I think that was actually canceled. That would have been, I think, early December or mid-December. That was actually canceled because of the CBA lockout. So I'm not really sure how they're going to approach that. I don't know if they're going to I have no idea if they're going to try and replan that for whenever baseball opens up. I don't think they're going to just skip it completely. You would, I guess, sooner rather than later need baseball operations to, I guess, start up. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's going to be pretty interesting. LFGM, absolutely. Trey says, Matt Cottrell for bench coach. Yeah, I wouldn't be against that. I think that would be, I think that would be interesting. He's a little too analytically driven, so I don't know how well that's going to sink in with the new coaching staff to an extent. But as of right now, I don't know. I think that'll be interesting. he could definitely be a fair candidate, but I think Bellatron would. I don't know. Personally, I'll say this: whoever is going to be the bench coach, whoever it is, whether that's a Bellatron, whoever's going to be brought in as the next bench coach, whether that's a Bellatron, whether that's a Cottrell, it's a likelihood that they're going to be the next manager down the line. Not 100%, but I think it's a strong possibility, and I would agree with it. Elliot, what's going on? Elliot says Conforto to the Marlins. Well, as of right now, there was some talk that the Marlins had some interest in Michael Conforto. I think it's a possibility. I mean, they lost Adam Duvall, but that was definitely a hit in the head there. You lost Lewis Brinson. He was kind of their only good outfielder. Let's look at the Marlins roster right now and see what they really have to work with, because I don't really think they have a whole lot of outfield depth. I know that their prospects are good, but they did sign Avisal Garcia, so that's actually a solid move. So, I mean, if you could get a guy like Conforto, put him next to Garcia, and then I don't know who their other outfielder would be. I can't recognize their faces because there are no faces. Outfield, you would have De La Cruz, Avisal Garcia, and Jesus Sanchez. So really, the only guys with actually more than a year of experience under their belt is really just Avisal Garcia. I don't know how much. I mean, I think Garrett Cooper is more of an infielder than an outfielder. Arguably a utility guy, yeah. But I don't know. That's kind of interesting. I mean, the Marlins are really. Hold on, guys. Stand by for 1 second. Stand by for 1 minute. Sorry about that, guys. Yes, as I was saying, the Marlins, in my opinion, they're a young team. They really have some good talent. Marlins have made some solid moves this offseason. They got Joey Wendell. That's nice. You throw him at third base. But the question is, are they saying goodbye, sayonara to Brian Anderson? I'm not saying the Mets should go after Brian Anderson. Don't get that. But I don't know. Their infield is stacked. I mean, you have Jesus Aguilar at first. He's not terrible. You have John Birdie, pretty good. Jazz Chisholm, he's definitely going to be annoying down the line for the Mets. Luis Diaz, solid. Isan Diaz, solid. Miguel Rojas, solid, and Joey Wendell, solid. Defensively, they have so much speed, so much athleticism. The offense, okay, it may not be there necessarily, but they have so much speed where they could use that, more so modernization of baseball, where just steal bases and score runs. So that could be really interesting for them down the line. 100%. I think that could be interesting. But yeah, in terms of the Marlins, I think it could be a fair pick. They're willing to spend. Just interesting to see. I don't know the GM's name, and Jeter. We'll see how much they have to go after. What's going on? Yeah, I know it's you, Zach. Zach says, I don't have many questions, to be honest, since the lockout has been boring. Hopefully the season isn't delayed a lot or anything, considering this is a year Bobby Witt Jr. was probably going to get called up. Yeah, I think his ETA was 2022. Yeah, definitely Royals. I mean, I don't know how much you guys have to look into. I mean, Nicky Lopez honestly isn't terribly defensively, so I think he was an elite shortstop defensively. If he can try to get his bat up a little bit, that'd be nice. Pitching staff, you don't really got much pitching. Maybe they'll resign Danny Duffy, had his injury stint. I mean, in terms of the Royals roster, I mean, who really is there? I'm not a Kansas City Royals expert, to be honest with you. Yeah, I couldn't tell you any of these pitchers. I know Brad Keller, I know Daniel Lynch, I know Mike Minor, and I've never heard of any of these other guys, to be honest with you. I mean, I know Salvador Perez. I think that's one bright side you have there. Salvi. Defensively, he's not the best, but offensively, he hits missiles. So you definitely have that to look out for a couple years. Nicky Lopez is pretty good defensively. Whit Merrifield's pretty good. He'll give you some speed. He could hit for a solid average. Carlos Santana didn't have the best year. Andrew Benintendi didn't really. He had a solid second half. Michael A. Taylor, whatever. See, they have some solid guys. I mean, I think if you throw Bobby Witt Jr. in that outfield with Andrew Benintendi and Michael A. Taylor, that's a solid outfield. Santana at first isn't the worst thing. Merrifield, Lopez, and whoever their third baseman would be. That's not horrific. You just need some pitching. And I know you guys have some prospects being called up soon. So, yeah, that could be something soon. And I don't know who your DH is. Kobe says 2 years ago for Christmas, the Mets got Betances. Now the Mets get a Hall of Fame manager. Exactly. See how quickly like things change. Like it's really crazy. Things change so quickly. Yeah, it's true, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. Betances was expected to be good. Let's look at Dellin Betances' stats in 28. Got him 2018. I have no idea when the Mets got him. He had his. Let's look at some of his stats because I'm not gonna lie, his stats were okay. 2019 stats. I mean, he only had one game pitched, but in 2018, 66 games pitched. Only gave up 20 runs, 115 strikeouts. You know, you have a nice whip, 1.05 whip, a 2.70 ERA. Yeah, those are pretty solid stats. So, I mean, you didn't really think he would get injured. I think as a player, he was good. Just the injuries kind of crushed him, to be honest with you, man. But yeah, I agree with you. No, definitely things have changed a lot since. It's really good, though. Marco says, I hope this lockout gets resolved by the end of January. Me too, brother. Me too. I mean, this is just really, it's really boring. I mean, like I always say it, you know, like there's no baseball news. Like I go on Instagram, I go on Twitter, you know, I go on anything. And there's just really nothing to talk about. It's all, you know, there's just really nothing to talk about. So I don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how things, turn out. Major League Baseball. Hopefully things can get resolved. Nick, what's going on, man? Hope you're doing well. He says Max Scherzer is a Met. The lockout is not over. Sadly, there has not been much talks, Nick, in terms of the CBA, the executives and the players. It seems that things have kind of been at the same level as they've been at. Arguably, since the lockout happened. So I guess you really hope that, I guess you really hope overall that, that they could try to get an agreement soon, because you're definitely going to want that. He says, let's go Mets. Absolutely. LFGM, Iving Dose. Brian says, Cal says Bryant to the Mets, yes or no. So I feel like we talk about Chris Bryant on every stream. So I think we're just gonna have like a 2-minute segment about Chris Bryant. So yeah, pretty much Chris Bryant. Being serious, Cal. Chris Bryant, I wouldn't be opposed to being on the Mets. I think he could be a solid guy. I think if you look at him right now, he's in prime age, so that's what you like to see. Prime age, I want to say is like 29, 30. It's prime age. You like that. As of right now, what was I just going to say? He's a great utility guy. You could throw him at third. You could throw him at left. You could throw him at right. He said he's willing to play center. I think at the All-Star game he said that. So that really tells you something. So he's willing. He's willing. He's willing to play wherever the manager puts him. Solid offensive piece. He really burst up into MVP numbers in the first half. Had a slower second half, but still solid. Still adequate stats. He hits extremely well against lefties, hits extremely well against fastballs, and hits extremely well with pitchers against low velocity, the three things the Mets pretty much lacked terribly last season. So bringing that in really helps. I think it depends on the deal. Shockingly, the Giants are not willing to give him a deal. I thought they would be stupid not to, but maybe they don't have the money, or I don't know. I really thought that the Giants would really want to go after him. I mean, right now the Giants rosters is such veteran compacted. I mean, Belt, Crawford, Posey, he just retired actually. So, you have Joey Bart, a rookie. I mean, you would like to have at least another prime age guy in there. I don't really know what happened. I'm guessing, I don't know who their GM or an owner is, but I'm guessing they just had a different level of interest, I guess. We'll see how that goes. Trey says, why is Kershaw not brought up more? He is a lefty with veteran experience who has a great upside, a great fit. Yeah, Kershaw could be nice. Honestly, I think the Dodgers would be dumb not to re-sign him. At first, I thought, they would sign Scherzer instead of Show. I thought they would sign Scherzer instead of Kershaw, and now they didn't. They let Scherzer walk. So I think now you kind of have to bring back Kershaw to help solidify that rotation. He's a veteran, yes. He has the postseason experience, yes. I mean, arguably, I don't think he'll come to the Mets. I mean, yeah, I get it. He's a lefty, but you have Pearson coming back soon. You have Lucchesi coming back soon. Yeah, I get it. They're not veterans, but they're still lefties. I think it's more realistic to see him go back to the Dodgers. In some miracle, they don't re-sign him. He's been their franchise MVP, 3-time Cy Young guy, possible Hall of Famer. I think it'd be crazy for the Dodgers to let him walk and not re-sign him to a short-term deal or a fair 4 or 5 long-term deals. So I think we'll see how that goes. In terms of who's going to sign him, I think it's a possibility. Rangers could be a fair piece. I think the Rangers could definitely have an interest in him. I mean, right now, Rangers, who's their rotation? John Gray? I mean, it maybe to an extent if the Texas Rangers, arguably, if they kept Dane Dunning, I know they still have Dane Dunning. If they kept Kyle Gibson at the trade deadline, maybe you'd have something working there. You'd have, Kyle Gibson if they didn't trade him away. But right now, I mean, they really have no rotation. So, what are you going to get? Yeah, I get it. Al Leiters or Jack Leiter, my apologies, is getting called up soon. That's 2 or 3 years. But if they had, maybe if they had John Gray and Kyle Gibson, that could be a solid back-to-back. You have Dane Dunning in the mix, still evolving. But right now, that Rangers rotation just doesn't look really, really interesting. I mean, let's look at the Texas Rangers roster and really see what they have cooking, because I really don't think they have a lot in terms of the rotation now. I mean, you have John Gray, okay, and I've never even heard of Glenn Otto, John King. I've never heard of these guys. So I mean, maybe and this is what I don't get is they had a weird trade deadline. They really did have a weird trade deadline. If they kept Kyle Gibson, you would have Gibson, Gray, Allard. They got you would have not got Spencer Howard then. Glenn Otto's okay. I mean, like I said, they don't really have any guys. I mean, they don't have any pitching. Simeon's great. Seager's great. Falefa's okay defensively and has a fair average. Calhoun's okay. Both of the Calhouns are okay. Garcia's okay. That's fair, but they have no pitching. I mean, who's going to go out there? I mean, I get it. Sam Huff. I mean, you're going to have a prospect catcher and prospect pitchers. I mean, that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Daniel, what's going on? Daniel says, I love Buck and his wife. They already got to do is win a World Series. I've never been more excited in my life as a Mets fan. I hope and pray the Mets stay healthy. Absolutely. That's all you can do is hope. Health is the biggest thing. I know it's a cheap excuse, but for the Mets, it literally was their excuse all last season. Sports fan, what's going on? He says, which New York team will win a championship first? Well, as of right now, I mean, I think the likelihood is, I know the Mets have had a terrible season last year, but I think it's the Mets. I mean, right now, bias aside, Steinbrenner and Cashman, they haven't made any moves before the lockout. Maybe they were playing smart. Maybe that's a possibility. Maybe they were playing smart and they were going to see after the deadline, after the lockout, and then they were going to get some guys. I don't think they're going to go after Correa because that's just going to upset the whole entire fan base. Yeah, you get in Story. That's fair. He's a contact hitter. Trevor Story, I think, could be a fair asset to the Yankees. He could hit for some power, hit for some pop, 100%. Great defensively, no doubt about it. The strikeouts are up there, but it's not like his average isn't going to be Joey Gallo's. But that's the thing, is the strikeouts are a big thing. The whole Yankees lineup is power. Is power and strikeout. Gallo, Judge, Stanton. You have enough of that already. They need to work on their defense. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with that Urshela and Torres combination. I mean, that's not working out for them. They have to make some moves. They really do need an actual shortstop. They need an actual third base. I mean, we'll see. What are they doing at first base? I mean, are they going to keep Voit? Probably not. Are they going to keep Rizzo? I don't know. He's kind of on the decline, sadly. Are they going to go after Matt Olson? Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Yankees have some stuff to work ahead. Stoney says, I'd love to see Murphy as a bench coach, but probably never happen. Yeah, I don't really see Daniel Murphy coming to the Mets as a coach. Joe says, could the Marlins really afford to pay out major contract? Listen, Joe, they said they're willing. I don't know the GM's name, but I know the owner, Jeter, obviously, and whoever the other owner is. They said they're willing to spend. I mean, they signed Garcia. How much was that Avisal Garcia contract for? That was probably, to an extent, like $40 million. $53 million, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, Conforto would probably times that by 3, 4. Are the Marlins willing to give Conforto, $250? I don't know. It would be a really unfortunate first move to make, and especially if he slumps. But I don't know. I don't know if they're willing. They said they're willing to spend. Them and the Tigers, they said they're willing to spend. So we'll see. Like I said, I think they have a lot of young guys. They have their prospects. So in terms of really signing guys, they're not going to sign a whole lot because their prospects are all being called up now. Nick says Conforto to the Rangers. Yeah, I mean that's fair. Yeah, honestly, that's a fair one. I could see that. And the Calhoun brothers aren't really that great. Garcia, you have like Willie in left, Adolis in center, and Conforto in right. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not horrific. It's just that they're going to throw out another $250. Zach says Carlos Hernandez is a good name to remember, of course. He says, yeah, Salvi got to be a DH. We have a good catching prospect, number 72 all. Yeah, I have briefly actually heard of him when I was looking up because the Mets' number one prospect is the catcher also, Francisco Alvarez. But number 72, well, that's a little high to an extent. But that's not bad. I mean, if he has a good frame, like I said, if you're a catcher in the American League or you have a DH, as long as you frame fine, I think you're a good catcher. I mean, LFGM, absolutely. Zach says, yeah, right now, baseball and social media. Yeah, it's pretty much just rankings and news and throwbacks. Elliot, what's going on? Elliot says, what do you think of the Blue Jays pitching staff? Well, as of right now, I think the Blue Jays have a fair pitching staff. Who is on there? Let's see who's their pitching staff. Let's look at the Blue Jays roster. We're looking at all the teams' rosters today, guys. Blue Jays roster. So as of right now, the Blue Jays, I think they do have a couple of things that they do need to work on. The pitching is pretty fair. You got Jose Barrios, or you re-signed him. I think you needed that because you gave up a lot for him, and that would have been a slap on the hand. You got Alek Manoah, good rookie season, very impressive. Hyun-Jin Ryu, down year, but, I mean, questionable. Can he still be a Cy Young self, or is he going to be a 2-3 starter? I think the Blue Jays are going to want to go out and sign another guy. I mean, you have Barrios, Ryu, Manoah. You have Kevin Gausman. That was a good signing. I can't forget about that. So that's 3. And then you have Ryu as 4. So, yeah, you have 4 guys. So, I mean, maybe if you want to go out and sign another guy, I mean, you lost Robbie Ray, but then you also got, another pitcher in return in Gausman. That's a good makeup. I think it's just going to come to question is, are they going to go after a guy like Rodon? Maybe a guy like Pineda could be nice. You have Nate Pearson. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with him. Didn't really have the biggest sample size last year. He had a couple fair outings, had a couple outings where he got destroyed. Maybe you throw him in the bullpen. I mean, the bullpen is a little bit worried. I mean, Adam Simber's okay. Julian Merriweather is okay. I like his sidearm action. Ross Stripling was not very good. So you throw him in the bullpen, that's not bad. So then you could probably go after another starter. That would be pretty cool. Sorry about that. Trey says, heck yeah, absolutely. This will put us right on top of the food chain. He's the right manager for the Mets, and he'll make sure there's no bullshitting around the team. Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely with Showalter, his eyes and ears are definitely going to be out around the Mets. He's not going to let any goofiness go on. He's not going to let any silliness go on. And I think that's honestly the biggest thing right now is that he is willing. He's willing to, I guess, make change. I mean, the Mets, they had so much foolishness going on, so much last season that I think they're really willing to work. Kobe says, would you rather bring back a healthy Harvey or a Wright? Ooh, that's a good. I did see this on Instagram. Honestly, right now, if we're looking at in terms of the Mets in 2022, I think you got to go David Wright. Mets need a third baseman. And, finish what you started. Finish that Hall of Fame career. So I'm going David Wright. Harvey's great. I mean, if we're talking 2013 Matt Harvey, I think that's great still. But, I mean, David Wright and Matt Harvey are on two different levels. I mean, Nick says, will the Mets win the NL East next year? Yeah, personally, I don't think so. I still think it's the Braves. If anything, they're a wild card team. Maybe, the Braves, you get in Soroka back. Yeah, we saw what they did without Acuna, it's just crazy what they did without Acuna, who was arguably their MVP of their team. So, as of right now, I still think it's the Braves division. But speaking of a division, Phillies Sports Talk Podcast, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you tuning into the stream. Hope you're doing well. We'll see. I know your Phillies definitely do need to make a couple signings. We'll see if your GM, Dave Dombrowski, is willing to make some moves, which I surely think he is. Appreciate you tuning in. Joe, what's going on? Joe says MLB erasing the players' faces is really bad optics for baseball. Fans don't view their team and players. Yeah, pretty much. That's funny. I agree with you. Metal the Mule says Haniger for DH. Seattle had lots of young outfielders: Trammell, Lewis, Kalanick, J-Rod, etc. Yeah, that honestly is pretty fair. Taylor Trammell, I don't really know how much you're going to want out of him. One team that I actually thought would sign Conforto was the Mariners. Quick little spiel on why is he's from Washington State, so you have the hometown discount. He's a guy who could easily be a nice lefty. They don't have any lefties in that lineup. You could throw him in the top of the order, a nice lefty bat. He could hit for some power. He's great defensively, and he could really help tutor, the younglings like Kyle Lewis, Jared Kalanick, Jose Rodriguez. So I think that'll be interesting. Like I said, Lewis, I don't know what happened with Kyle Lewis. He had a good 2020, terrible first half, and then he was hurt. Maybe, hopefully, Kalanick. He's kind of my uptake for Rookie of the Year next season. But yeah, honestly, that wouldn't be the worst thing, Metal the Mule. Not gonna lie. I don't know who their DH is now, but that actually would be pretty good. Not gonna lie. Kobe, what's going on? Nick says, hey, Hayden, will the Braves sign a first base? Yeah, hopefully they'll probably re-sign Freddie Freeman. I think they kind of have to. Stoney says, awesome stream, little brother. If I don't see you at stream this week, happy holidays. Absolutely, man. You too. Hopefully you do have a good, happy, and healthy holiday. Nice, man. LFGM, absolutely. Absolutely happy holidays, Nick. Joe says, Marlins have a history of giving out a bunch of big contracts only to realize they can't afford them. Like the Rangers. Yeah, they do. I'm not going to lie. Definitely, like I said, they don't need to throw out a whole lot of contracts because they're relying on their prospects. They have one of the best farm systems in baseball. And that's why it comes into hand. And that's why I want the Mets to blow up their farm system. Mets farm system is ranked 22. They can get up to 12, and they'll be willing to make more trades. They'll be willing to call guys up, and they won't have to go out and sign a lot of guys for free agency. Obviously, yeah, definitely. You still want to sign free agents. But yeah, I still think it's going to be interesting to see. Nelson Cruz for DH. Yeah, like I said, if he's a DH, I think that'd be the only position. He's terrible defensively, and he's too old in the outfield, so can't risk that. Good stream. I appreciate it, brother. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, so I do appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm going to have to call this a stream. If you guys do have any more comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I do really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys are new to the stream, or if you guys are watching this on playback, whatever, please, everyone, please smash that like button. Please drop any comments in the comment section below. Let me know if you rewatched this or if you have any takes, anything Mets, Phillies, anything baseball related. Hit that subscribe button. Please make sure those post notifications are tuned on. I know YouTube has been very weird lately with that, how they haven't been going on for some people, including myself. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. interesting content coming ahead. I will be having a couple videos, so keep an eye out on that. I will be having a couple videos being released in the next week or two about certain players that had a slump this season and if they could fix it and what went wrong. So please be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys tuning in. We're probably going to call it a stream here. Otherwise, that's all I got. LFGM, I hope everyone has a happy and a healthy holiday. Whatever you celebrate, hopefully you enjoy it. I will be going away. I'll be going to New York. I live in Florida, so I will be going to New York in 2 days or tomorrow. So I will not be live streaming for the next week and a half, but I will have a couple of videos being published, so definitely keep a look out on that. Otherwise, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. LFGM, or let's go baseball, whatever. Till next time, baseball fans. See ya.